Welcome to Uncompromised. It's the podcast where we talk about regenerative agriculture, the economics of farming, and how we can uncompromise the industry and the food that we eat. Today we're going to get into what happened on the farm this past week, and we're going to talk about some key decisions that we're having to make with our chicken operation, and then we're going to explain our Christmas tree deconing process. But before we do, consider liking this video and subscribing to this channel. We're on a mission to restore the soil on our Ohio Christmas tree farm by transitioning to fully regenerative farming practices. We're also bringing back chestnuts to Ohio. So is any of that possible? Do you want to find out? If so, I think you're in the right place. So go ahead and get subscribed, learn with us, and let's talk about the next generation of farmers in America. So with that, I am Kyle, and I'm here with Kevin, who's a family friend of ours and a partner in the business, and my dad, Scott, who is the owner of the farm and also a partner in our second business, in the other business of the farm. And we're joined by a number of barn cats that are going to make a few appearances. I think we're going to get started like we always do and talk about things that happened on the farm this past week. And so what have you guys been getting into this past week?
All right, well, something we will be talking about a little bit later on is deconing. So we started our deconing process this week. We actually had a terrific week of rain, which we desperately needed.
Yeah.
So that put a hamper on some of our mowing, but we did some mowing as well in a couple of our fields. But those are the biggies. And then I did take some time and did an inventory of our chestnut seedlings and how they're doing. So of the 280-ish that we had planted, 148 of them are growing terrifically. So we got them anywhere from here to here. Some real, and they look beautiful. So I separated all of them out and put them outside. So they got to enjoy the rain and the sunshine and all that kind of good stuff that we had. Then there's another 34 and 15, so 49 seedlings that are on life support, what I'm calling life support. That means they are just barely out of the ground or needing a little bit more time in the greenhouse. So that's those. And then we have another 82 or so that just didn't pop up. So I've got those in the greenhouse as well. We're watering them, and hopefully we'll get some of them to pop up. I don't think so though. But for the 40 some that are on life support, I do expect that those will get to a decent height and we'll be ready to put them out. So as soon as we're finished with deconing, then that'll be the next thing that we do.
So real quick before I forget this, should we move those in tonight? We're supposed to get down to 33.
Yeah, if we're supposed to get down to 33, we probably ought to move them in. That's not a bad idea.
All right.
You got to remember to do that.
I know.
Yeah.
That's the hard part.
It's saying it and doing it, all right?
Saying it and doing it, that's right. Good intentions.
Right. It's been kind of a slow week. The coffee huts dominated the scene, and then with the rain, not really doing a whole lot outside.
But this is kind of a typical late spring or mid-spring pattern that we get into is that kind of thing.
Yeah, good pool. Yeah, the meat birds are doing good, loving it outside.
They're getting close to their due date.
Next week.
Yep.
Next week is 7 weeks.
So we'll probably talk about how that goes in our evisceration process a little bit more at some point. I don't know if that'll be next week. It probably won't, but it'll be a few weeks from now.
Next week should be S&D and eat.
And then we do need to chat about the order process so we can get that nailed down right away.
Okay, and then didn't you make some repairs to the coffee hut too? Some minor things?
Yeah, some minor things. Some from the previous owner and builder of it. There were some screws that weren't staying and everything, so put some rivets in it and.
It's an old, what is it, 1975?
It's a 75, two stall horse trailer.
Yeah, so it's
heavy. I mean, this thing's 4,700 pounds.
Right.
Yeah, so it's a heavy trailer, even though it's just a small two stall trailer. But it was modified to have a beautiful. I think the interior is just wonderful. So
Yeah.
and very efficiently designed too.
Right.
Yeah.
I can't think of anything anything I would do different to the layout of that trailer.
Yeah, we really got lucky on that.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, that's for sure.
And then, so as we're talking about the coffee hut, we today actually, you guys just got off of a long shift at a we call it a Bushel and a Peck, which is a small farm store that's right down the road. And you guys, they had an event going on. So it was, you were saying it was a spring festival of some kind.
Spring festival.
So you were there all day from
Yeah,
9 to
9 to
5.
5.
You just got off, and that went really well. Apparently, I looked at the.
That went super well, nice and steady
Yeah.
the whole day. But we only needed one of us in there, so that made it nice. So that we weren't both in there all day long. It's 9 to 5, but they're doing it again tomorrow. You know, from 9 to 3, and so we look forward to another day with them. But yeah, I think this was our first event
Of the
year,
season, yeah.
of the season, yeah. So
Yeah.
it went well for us, and so we were happy about that.
Yeah, and I think I had a couple good conversations. Two potential new locations that we might be going to. Well, I guess one is an event planner. She's very excited about the coffee hut and everything and the coffee. And then the other one, she owns a horse rescue, and I forget how many acres. It's like 100 acres, I think. It's a big spot. But they just opened, and they said that, future events, they'd like to try and have us out. And
Where are they, I mean, how many miles away are they?
it's within 10, 15 miles.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
So pretty close. And then I chatted with another lady, and her son is out in Brookville, has 78 acres that he is.
West Milton.
West
He said West Milton, yeah.
Okay, what did I just say?
You said Brookville.
Jeez. Good catch. Out in West Milton, he has 78 acres that he's in the early stages of regenerating. Sorry, Joey. But he's doing meat birds, laying hens, using the Celestine methods and stuff like that. And we didn't have enough time to talk, and she didn't know.
Did you exchange information or anything?
I gave her the business card. I said, please have your son reach out to us.
Yeah.
We would be very interested to talk and just chat with like-minded people who are, in fairly similar stages of the journey.
It's
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah.
Good.
But yeah, had some really good conversations, and yeah, let her know kind of the whole goal in the coffee hut has never been solely to sell coffee and make money. It's exposure and connection, and then talking about regenerative farming methods. And
Yep, we use it as a marketing vehicle to promote the message of regenerative farming and to get our brand out there. That's kind of the primary goal. And then we also like to have revenue come in throughout the year, which is kind of a secondary bonus. But real quick, if you're a coffee drinker and you're looking for a solid brand that supports regenerative farmers, check out 7 Weeks Coffee. It's what we use in our coffee and chestnut hut because they're faith-based, they have a great mission, and their Dominican blend is sourced from regenerative farms. They do not sponsor us, but because we use them in our coffee hut, we have an affiliate link that we can share with you guys. So if you use our discount code ADVENT, you'll get 10% off of your order, or you can also use the link that's in the description below. It's a great way to support our channel and our farm. You get a discount on great coffee, and then we get a kickback, so it's a win-win. Other things, so on my side, I know I ordered a bunch of supplies. I was just telling Kevin that our bank account was really hurting right now because we had a bunch of big expenses happen all at once, which tends to happen, but I think we're probably through the thick of it. Other than, I mean, I have a check in the mail for the fee for the Inglewood Art Festival, so that'll be hitting soon. But I ordered some more coffee, which is usually, about $450 for every time we order coffee supplies. I ordered some egg cartons because you said we were running low, and I ordered double what I ordered last time because it's 10 cents cheaper per carton, which equates to a savings of $88 for that whole thing. So I think it's worth it, especially since we're going through them so fast. But that also means that was a pretty hefty cost. So
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Can you go see Kyle? He loves you and wants you.
And then the finances, I had to do that today since it's the first of the month. So I went through that whole thing. That took several hours, which there's the whole QBO thing that I had to go through and sort through all the expenses and make sure everything was reconciled. And then there's the sales tax process. And then we work with the YMCA, so they get a small cut depending on which days we're there. So I have to go through the calendar and then like match everything up. And it's a lot, but that was necessary things that we have to do. And that was my side of the week, other than, because I say this every day, but I work a 9-to-5 job. So that's why I'm not here as often. Yeah. So, all right, outside of that, I want to move on to the chicken operation and talk about some things we're working through there, because I know earlier this week we were having a conversation about a problem that we have, which is a good problem, because we essentially our demand is higher than our supply when it comes to chicken eggs. And we have some laying hen, or some, what do you call them? They're little baby chicks that we got earlier this spring, that we only got 25 of them, and they're growing right now, but they were only intended to replace our oldest batch of chicken hens.
We were talking about this, and your dad reminded me, they're not there to replace the first batch. That batch is to take us up to 88.
Yep.
Okay. Well, that's what okay. So last time we were having that conversation, we said that was what we were doing. But with that being said, we need to up how many chickens we have, how many female chickens we have, so that we can, when they're ready 6 months from now, then we can have more of a supply. And it's one of those conversations that we have to work through, because in order for us to do that, although we have plenty of land available, we have to also think about the infrastructure and how we can take care of them. So we need to make sure that we have enough room in our eggmobile, our portable eggmobile, and that we have enough room in this barn to winterize them during the winter months and things like that. So I guess we can talk about that and see if we can work through it. I wanted to capture that on the podcast. We talked about it a little bit a couple of days ago, but I really wanted to put a bow on it and come to a conclusion on the podcast, because it's one of those conversations that it's behind the scenes. It's things that farmers have to think about. There's a lot of logistics involved. I mean, even though they're just chickens and you're just getting chicken eggs out of them, there are some logistics involved in the infrastructure, and you have to make sure that you can plan ahead 6 months from now, that you are able to take care of them and things like that. So it's kind of a little bit on how the sausage is made, behind the scenes type of thing. But, I think it's a good opportunity to share with people and have them understand the back end process and actually show them how the sausage is made. So I don't know exactly how to start the conversation organically, but I know that.
Well, I think we can start with what are the considerations we need to be factoring in to the equation. And one of the big considerations is we wanted to not have the chickens inside during the winter. Making an eggmobile, and we know that we need a bigger eggmobile to handle the 88. So using, I think it was Joe Salatine's calculations.
Yep.
We came up with
3.2 square feet per bird.
Per bird. That is when they're not outside.
Correct.
So like during the winter time, and we're having severe, super cold weather, or snow, or freezing rain and wind, all that kind of stuff, they would be inside, but out there on pasture, but they'd be inside this mobile eggmobile. And so doing that math, and if we would need a 10 by 30 square foot mobile eggmobile.
Yeah. So what is our current eggmobile? What's the square
That's maybe
footage of that?
By 10. It's approximately.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Right. Yeah. So that's 80 square feet. And you have 63 birds in there.
Right. So it's 1 point something.
Yeah. So it's,
which is right for the square footage when they're spending almost all day, every day outside.
Right.
So that is perfect for them and what we're using it for right now.
So in other words, the one eggmobile we have is maxed out?
Yes.
and we don't want to add more. So we have some that we need to put out there. So is that what you were getting to? Is like, what's the next step?
Well, I think in terms of understanding what are the considerations we're trying to think through, we're trying to get a 300 square foot
Right.
egg mobile. Okay, so that's number one.
That's a large trailer.
To handle, and the most it can handle is 94 birds.
Technically 93.75.
Okay, so it can handle 94 birds. So where we're at with the 63 that we have plus the 25, so it'd take us up to 88. So we're in the ballpark.
Right.
We're in the ballpark, which means we don't want to add any more to that. But if you remember several months back, we were thinking through this. And so in 2027, in the fall of 2027 is when our initial hens that we bought are going to be ready to be taken out of production and probably moved right over into Trudy's chicken coop area. Those will come out of production, and then that's when we'll need to buy another 25 to replace those. So this 25 that we have right now, that we hope will start laying eggs in the September timeframe, that is to take us up to the 88 number, so that we have maxed out, at least in our mind, the number of layers that we think we can support with the infrastructure that we have.
Okay, so what month of 2027 did you say that the current hens will expire?
Yeah, September.
Okay, and so when would we buy the next batch of 25 to replace them? We would do that in the spring of 2027?
Yeah, we do that in the spring of 27. Yes, so
Okay.
next spring we would buy 25 more. And
Okay.
the purpose of that is not to increase the herd, but to replace the chickens that we have.
To keep us where we're at.
Yeah, keep
Right.
us-
And those chicks will go into the egg mobile that we're currently using.
Okay, that was my next question. So for the sake of getting these confused, because I got confused for a second, our current eggmobile, we only have one right now. I'm going to call that version 1 eggmobile. Our version 2 is the one that you are in the process of building.
Designing.
Designing, yeah.
Yeah.
It's still vaporware.
Yeah.
Okay, sure. So the 88 that you were talking about, are you saying that 88 is going to go in version 2 or version 1?
Version 2.
Okay, so
Version 2. Yeah.
when are the 25 we have now that we got in early spring, when are those going to be ready to go onto the field?
In around the September timeframe, just
No,
like
no.
maybe a little bit earlier.
They're going to be going out into the field after we process the 6 meat birds.
Yeah.
They'll go into a chicken tractor and we'll move them around until, just because they would go into version 1,
Yeah.
but since version 2 isn't ready, we can't move them into there.
Yeah.
Then the new one's into version 1 yet.
Okay.
So for right now, we make use of what we have, and we have 2 chicken tractors.
Okay, that makes sense. So version 1 is maxed out right now, and so you're saying that because you need more time to build version 2.
Yeah.
And so in the meantime, we're going to repurpose a chicken tractor, which is meant for broilers and male birds, but we're going to repurpose it for this 25 batch of new laying hens until version 2 is ready, and then you're going to merge them all into one flock in version 2.
Yeah. Eventually, all of the nesting hens. So once our 25 start producing eggs and they're big enough to handle themselves, they will move into our current laying flock, and those will all go into version 2. And I don't have a time frame on when that's going to be, because we're still trying to generate the funds to be able to purchase the materials for this.
But I would expect, assuming that we get that done, I would expect it would be early fall. So yeah, because that's when they'll start laying in August, September. As started last year, and we actually got these 3-4 weeks earlier.
No, it's 1 week later.
Okay, 1 week later.
Yeah.
I thought you said that
The first batch we got in May.
I thought you said 27 April,
27 April, sorry.
and we got these on the 18th of March.
Okay, the first batch was 27 April. The second batch was March 8th or something last year.
Okay.
And then we got these ones.
Yeah, these are the 18th.
18th.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So anyway, the point is that they should start laying in August, September. Yeah.
So we want to shoot for the version 2 to be finished, the build to be finished by fall, because that's when they start laying eggs, but also because that's when, or we're also using version 2 to winterize the chickens so that we don't have to keep them in the barn.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah, so really, we don't need to have that ready until we would ordinarily winterize the birds. We would bring them inside. We didn't do that until November of last year. So technically, that's when we really need to have it,
Yeah.
so that we could keep them out.
So I'd say that's worst case scenario.
Yeah, I agree.
And we'll see time frame and everything. As fun as it is to dig eggs out from the chicken tractor, I prefer not to do it anymore.
I'm with you. I'm with you. If we can do it by the time they start laying at a regular pace.
I mean, Reagan's older now, so she'll probably do better about getting the eggs.
Yeah. But it is a pain. Yeah.
Oh, man.
Not that I did it very much, maybe once or twice, but you did it almost every day.
Oh, every single day. I'd be
that's
back
tough.
behind the tractor, lifting it up high enough so the birds can't get out, but also
You can reach.
high enough where Reagan can reach her little arms in there as she's freaking out about getting attacked for no reason.
Yeah.
And we probably broke one at least every day.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they're not meant for.
Those
For
kind of
that.
chicken tractors, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, that's a good example of how we kind of have to improvise until we can get the infrastructure in place.
Exactly.
Yeah, there's only so much you can do, and you can't outpace your means.
Yeah.
So,
And so I think in terms of, do we need to purchase more birds? I don't think so. No, at this point,
Not
our next
layers.
purchase for, and when I say birds, I'm talking about our laying hens,
Yeah.
would be in the spring of 27.
Yeah.
yeah.
So do you think that an additional 25 in the flock is enough to match our demand currently?
Probably not.
Yeah, I mean, what a blessing to have the demand that we have. And frankly, right now we're keeping up with our demand. What we're not doing is allowing ourselves to enjoy what we're producing. I mean, you don't get any eggs from it.
Yeah.
Kyle doesn't, Kevin doesn't get any eggs.
Right.
And
And you guys don't either. I mean, you have, I know
we
you have,
get from our own chickens.
right.
So-
It's a different flock that
Yeah,
are,
different flock.
they're
So
special
And
birds.
they're old. Yeah, they're old. So they're produced maybe 4 or 5 eggs a day.
Oh, yeah.
And most of those are the little guinea eggs that you end up getting for George.
Yeah.
Right. So now a conversation we can have about being able to provide with ourselves or for ourselves is as we're retiring birds,
That's a good point. That's a really good point.
we can start putting them into, like, if I beef up my chicken coop in my area at my house and we add some to your flock here at the farm,
Yeah, we've got a source of eggs.
now we have a source of eggs for us.
That's a true statement, but that's not going to be till next year.
Right.
I mean, it's a year and several months away,
Right. So it's not an immediate fix.
but it is a end
Yeah.
result that can help us.
So you guys are saying you don't think that we need to order any more laying hens?
Yeah, because we'll
can't
max
support it.
out we'll max out the infrastructure that we would have ready for it.
Right.
And I think that's a controlling factor here.
So next, when this is all said and done, version 2 is going to be maxed out, right? Because you said the max was 88.
94. And
So
we'll be
we're
at
okay,
88,
right.
so plus or minus.
So yeah.
Yeah.
But then we'll still have version 1 empty at that point.
Version 1 is going to be used, though, to house
The little ones.
the little ones. As soon as they're out of the brooder, they're going into version 1 until they start laying.
And every year we'll be taking 25 birds out of production. So we'll need that egg mobile for those little guys
Right.
during the summer.
It's still being used, but it's being used to house the birds that aren't yet laying that will replace the hens that are going out.
And you may wonder, well, why don't you just keep them in the barn? Well, the whole idea is to get them out on the grass.
Yeah.
Get them out in the pasture so that they can live life in a wonderful way out there.
But what if we timed it so that we got the baby chicks in the fall, and then I'm just thinking out loud, and then we house them in the brooder in the barn over winter, and then they'll should be ready by spring, or at least big enough to be outside by spring.
Well, that's risky though.
Okay, because of the temperatures.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's it's a real risky venture for us to.
I knew there was a problem with it as I was starting to explain it.
So, I mean, and another thing, which once again doesn't solve us getting eggs, but the version 2 will be out in field 7, and then version 1 will stay here in the Christmas trees.
Is it possible then to design and build a version 2 that can house more than 88?
Oh, it's possible,
It's possible. So
but I think your cost goes incrementally up.
this is already going to be an expensive build. 10 by 30 foot. Just in terms, if we decided to go out and buy a 10 by 30 foot shed, 10 grand, it's not going to cost us that much because we're building it in house and everything.
I'm thinking something like a Millennium Falcon type of thing
put
versus a
birds in it.
shed.
You can't
You can't
winter.
winterize them. So is it more expensive to build a higher capacity version 2, or is it more expensive to build 2 version 2s? Because right after you build version 2, we're going to have to build another one if we're going to keep scaling up.
I don't disagree. A 10 by 30 is already really big.
Yeah, I know.
I would honestly prefer to build 2, but it's going to be more expensive to build 2.
Well, and but incrementally. I mean, if we get to that point and we decide at that point that we want to scale up, then we know what it's going to cost. We know what it's going to take to do that.
Right.
And so we scale up when we're ready to. We're already scaling up, quite frankly. We're scaling up by 25 birds.
Yeah, that's true. But it would be nicer. I mean, it would be preferred if we can scale up before we reach that demand so that we can match it when it comes in, when we get there. Because there's what is it, like an 8-month delay between when they are able to, between when baby chicks are able to start producing eggs.
Yeah. Well, the risk with that though is an assumption that the market is going to be there. And that's always my concern is I'd rather have the market demand I don't want us to assume the market's going to be there.
Yeah, I mean, I understand that. My concern would then be that if we can't meet the demand, then we build for it and we scale up 6-8 months later and we're too late, then that demand will be gone by the time we get it. So either way, it's risky.
Yeah, there's a risk involved. I think my point though is that I don't see the demand right now. What I see is we are at capacity. Mm-hmm. And so we have not exceeded that. We are not in a position where we can't meet the demand that we have. We are meeting the demand that we have, which is a good thing.
We're just not meeting our.
Yeah, can we explain that a little bit more? You are correct, and I agree with you, but I've been saying that we've been maxing out demand right now, and you just kind of said we didn't, which you are correct technically. So it's because you might do a better job of explaining it.
Yeah, so I think we need to look at what is our capacity versus what is our market. So right now our market is allowing us to sell every dozen we produce, we're able to sell without having a delay where they get so old that you can't sell them anymore. I mean, I think we may have eggs that are a week old, and of course eggs will last months. So
our eggs last months because we don't process them like you do in the store.
Right.
So that's why.
Right.
The expiration date is different for our eggs.
All that kind of good stuff. So when we have a demand, we're able to meet that demand, but we're not in a position where we're not able to meet the demand that we have. Okay, so that tells me that we're at our capacity. If we see that we're just not able to do it, and people are having to wait, or they're not getting what they wanted when they wanted it, that kind of thing, then yeah, that's saying our demand is higher than our capacity. If we have eggs like we did last year, that we just couldn't get rid of them because we weren't known enough at that point, And if you recall, there was times we had 60 dozen eggs sitting in our refrigerator, 60 dozen. And thankfully we had an event here with our church, and we gave them away. We gave them away to many of the folks that were there. That's not where we're at either. See, so that's a good thing. So that's what I mean is, if we get more of a demand than we have right now, yeah, we're going to be hurting, but we're not there.
So we sell our eggs currently online, and then we also sell them in 2 store locations. So there's 2 different farms, local farm stores that we sell our eggs in. At both locations, are we selling out on a regular basis?
So the answer is yes and no. So yes, we have been selling out, but I think I understand the reason why. In one of them, one of the places that we sell our eggs, we have been selling out, but not consistently. And right now, they still had stock at the end of the week. The other one, though, there were a couple of people that were buying those eggs outright, and they were buying like 8 dozen at a time. And so they have come to us, directly to us. And so we're gonna support them directly, which means that the demand at that location is not gonna be as high. So that's why we were able to sell all the eggs that we were selling at that one location. And because they're coming to us directly now, then we have decided to prioritize them so that they get their eggs before we get it out to the other vendors, because $1 in hand is better than, presupposing that at a vendor's location. So that was our logic.
Okay, so if essentially we have the same amount of customers, you're just shifting one of our bigger customers away from the middleman, and they're now buying from us directly. So are we then going to be able to continue to stock, if they're still buying the same amount of eggs from us directly, are we still going to be able to keep them in stock at the store too?
I think so. And our stockage rate would be less than what it has been, because those customers aren't there. They're coming directly to us. So I will adjust that stockage rate so that we don't have eggs sitting there for longer than a week or so.
So another benefit to them coming directly to us is we have these 2 customers that want 8 dozen, and now you can rotate that week to week, right? Customer A gets it 1 week, customer B, customer A.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's not the way it's working out,
No?
because both of them want to come at the same time, because that's when the milk is delivered. Every other week, milk is delivered. So that's fine. I just have to know what they want, their schedule-wise, so that we can properly save for them.
Okay.
Yeah, so it is different than what I initially
originally,
wanted to try to work out with them.
All right. Well, either way, that allows us to project.
Exactly.
And that's a huge benefit. So,
Right.
So one thing to point out is both of these customers we didn't have them at all until we started putting eggs in the store. So the eggs in the store is getting eyeballs on our brand, and we're getting introduced to new customers through the stores that we're selling in.
Right. That's right.
So that's why it's also important to make sure that we are keeping up with that demand, to keep them in stock so that we can continue to get new customers through those stores.
Right.
Which that's what I'm also kind of concerned about too. But it seems like we can stay in stock, so.
Right.
yeah, I don't think there's an argument that we shouldn't increase our flock. I think the argument is when.
Yeah, it's when, right? That's what I'm getting from this, is maybe it is smarter to kind of delay it for a little bit. And there probably is a point in time where we can kind of try to get ahead of the game.
Right.
But it does make a little more sense to not take such a large bet when we're still new to the market.
Yeah, and that's a great point. The fact that we are new to the market, I don't know if this is a blip or if this is, a new normal for us.
Right.
Where last year, we couldn't get a customer to save our life. This year, thankfully, we've got plenty for the size, for the numbers that we have. And I realize our numbers are not big, but they're good. They're good enough for what we need right now. I'm just not comfortable enough in my mind to say this is a steady market. I don't know that it is. I hope it is, but I don't know that yet. And so that's where I'm a little leery also. So just add that to the side that says, let's hold for a little bit and see where we are.
Yeah. One of my biggest, I think if we had the space to winter the birds already on hand, I think that changes the conversation a little bit as well.
Yeah. But we don't.
Right.
So that becomes a non-factor for us.
Right.
Yeah. Which is why we didn't go down that road, because we just don't have the barn space.
So
where are you? I mean, do you think you have a solid design ready to go, or are you still tinkering with it?
I think I have there's
going.
some things that I need to figure out still. But I think in the grand scheme of things, I have something that'll work better than version 1. And there's a lot more factors to consider with version 2 because it has to be winterized.
Right. Yeah.
One of the things that I want is I don't want to have to go in and out of the eggmobile every day. I want to be able to seep water and collect the eggs from the outside of the eggmobile, because that keeps as much as the warm air in there as possible.
Yeah.
In doing so, I also have to figure out how to get water in there from the outside, how to keep that water tank, whatever we use, from freezing, and water lines.
Yeah, you're saying to refill the water from the outside so that you don't have to go into the inside and
Right.
stumble on all the birds.
Right. And I think we're going to end up putting maybe like a 55-gallon drum in there. One of those blue barrel drums in there.
Yeah. The water process in the winter is going to be a whole lot different than the water process in the summer.
Yeah.
That freezing thing, I mean, like we did last year, I thought it worked out okay.
Yeah.
And what was that? Well, we had to bring water out and just give them water every morning and evening.
Yeah.
And then by the time we got out there, it would freeze again, and so we're constantly, and so just giving them enough water that they drink it all the way down was the key, so that you don't have this buildup of water that's frozen that you got to constantly break off.
Well, and one of the things that I was kicking around the idea of, because it should be where we put the Eggmobile version 2 in the winter, should be close enough where we could run a trough heater out there.
Yeah, I'm hesitant on that because that's infrastructure that is not laid yet.
Right. I'm not hanging my hat on that.
Yeah, you can't.
But that is probably the biggest thing that I am struggling to figure out is water.
Yeah. Well, one thing I guess I would, mention is don't let perfect be the enemy of good enough.
Right.
If we don't need to have a perfect design here, we just need a design that's going to work for us and is flexible enough that we can incorporate the kinds of things that we need to do for water in the wintertime.
Right. So, but I plan on building another nesting box that's based on the hen gear design that we can get to from the outside, which means that I will have to build essentially a box on the outside that's insulated, so that way we can get to the eggs without them freezing, which may mean that I make
Multiple
trips out to check the nesting boxes every day.
Yeah.
But I don't think there's really a way around it.
All right.
And you're building this on top of like a framework of a hay wagon type of thing.
Can't do that.
Oh, that's out the window?
It's not big enough.
It is not big enough.
So what are we going to use?
What I'm looking at is old RV frames. Which, once again, it wasn't my first pick. But based on the square footage that we need, that's probably the cheapest route to go.
Yeah.
Well,
If anybody has any ideas, though.
we got a lot to figure out.
Yeah.
Definitely open to it.
but we can like I've found 10 by 30 foot, 8 by 30 foot, I believe, RV frames with wheels and tires and all that jazz for between $400 and $500, which is where we were at with a hay wagon.
Right. All right.
So luckily that hasn't changed. What's going to change is the amount of money it's going to cost for lumber, 2x4s, and insulation, plywood, metal. All that is going to shoot up drastically.
Yeah.
So while we were having that conversation originally, another thing that came up was regulation and where we fall when it comes to regulation. So we are considered in Ohio, we're considered a small egg producer, which is defined as any person who engaged in the operation of egg production and annually maintains 500 or fewer birds, which is us.
Yeah. Right.
So that means that we have a lot of headroom before we reach that limit, and we no longer qualify as a small egg producer.
Right. That's right.
Which, I mean, I don't know if we'd ever get up to that mark anyways, based on the land that we have.
Yeah. I mean, because ultimately that's not going to be our primary source of income.
Right.
You know, it's just supplemental income at this point. More importantly, it is doing what we wanted to do out there to regenerate our soil.
Right.
So it's as a side benefit is the whole poultry, or at least the egg production part of it. Same thing with the meat birds. I mean, it's supplemental income. It's not primary.
Right.
Whereas the chestnuts is going to be a primary source of income. The cattle, and the beef, where we do direct marketing and that kind of thing, would be primary. And maybe depending on the meat birds, if we do enough, if we have enough of a market there, that could potentially be worthwhile. But you know, we got to gauge those things and figure all that out.
Yeah.
It is. There's a number of benefits because we are considered a small egg producer, and really the only thing that we have to comply with is, for the most part, in the state of Ohio, is carton labeling. Yeah. So you have to have your name and address on the carton, along with a numerical quantity of the contents, a packing date. You have to have it labeled either ungraded or unclassified. It has to be labeled as mixed size, and you have to have safe handling instructions on it.
Right.
Which our current label checks all those boxes, so that's good.
Now, one thing I did notice when I was doing some of that research was in 2019, when not COVID, I'm sorry. This past year, when that bird flu came out, the state of Ohio, the Department of Agriculture, put out a mandate limiting the number of birds that can be, I don't know what the details were, but they had a mandate that indicated that they had reduced that number from 500 down to 100, I think, for a period of time. So we just got to be aware of that and be in tune with when those changes occur.
Right.
Yeah. And if it applies to us, then we've got to comply with it. And there were certain counties that it applied to, and other counties in the state of Ohio it did not apply to, but it did apply to Montgomery County.
Yeah, because we had a breakout that was very close.
Yeah.
And so,
Yeah, they're just trying to control that.
right.
Yeah.
But yeah, the meat bird order form is something that we need to discuss, and how we're going to market and essentially pre-sell, I think, is the goal.
Right.
Yeah, so we aren't in the market for, or we haven't penetrated the market for broilers, our meat birds, because we haven't gotten to that stage yet. So we did our first experimental round a couple years ago. Then we skipped a year because we were busy with other things, and then we have another test batch that we're going to do, and if that goes well and everything is copacetic there, then we're probably going to order our first batch that we are going to bring to market. So what you're saying is we need to do some outreach and make sure that people are aware, that we are going to be selling broilers soon, and then we need to figure out the the entire, point of sale process and how we want to go about that.
Yeah.
So that's another thing we're going to be thinking about.
So the key there is before we order the birds, we want to have a sense of what the demand is so that we can order the right number of birds. So that's where, is it chicken or egg kind of situation. In this case, getting that order form done, getting the word out so that people can place their orders. And then that allows us to set a date that we would then order our birds, right? So that we at least have an idea of what are we going to do? We get 25 and we only have an order for three dozen? That doesn't make sense. So 3 dozen, I'm sorry.
Yeah, eggs on.
Egg world.
Yeah. I didn't even
3 meat birds.
I didn't even catch it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many ways that you can go about doing that and introducing yourself to the market. And I think that's, correct me if I'm wrong, you're a very conservative person when it comes to like betting on the market and stuff. And I think I am too. Maybe a little bit more loose than you are, but
Yeah, I'm
I
pretty
think that's
conservative on
probably
this
the
kind of thing.
safest, most conservative way to kind of do it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But as you know, I'm easily talked out of some things.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, with the price of meat chicks right now,
They're
Yeah, I don't know a ton about. Yeah, there's a lot of things we still got to figure out because I don't really know that either. I don't know like I know we're gonna go with whole birds first, but then like when it comes to different cuts of meat, like which ones are we gonna do and how we go about doing that.
yeah.
so
And so before we move on to the broilers, I also want to say, so back to the laying hens, the egg regulations in the state of Ohio, when you go past 500, you lose that small producer status. So a couple things that happens when that triggers is the state then gets involved, so there's more oversight with it, and that means that there's the ODA, the Ohio Department of Agriculture, requires registration, and they have to inspect. Usually it's the refrigeration, they do water testing, and then a few other things, but there's some inspections involved, and then they will require a capital. All of this will require for us as farmers a capital investment into building the infrastructure to meet those requirements. So that's why we kind of want to stay under that threshold, and that's something we have to think about if we have the resources to build that infrastructure. If we ever do, we'll go above that. But
Right.
that's another example of like things that happen behind the scenes that you really got to think through when you're selling, these type of things to the market.
Which is something we've also learned by making mistakes because the initial label on the egg carton was wrong.
We didn't. It was wrong for selling in the store.
Right.
Yeah, we figured that out, but we mitigated it.
Right.
Mitigated it.
We've gotten better about doing more research up front on what we need to have before we get out into the market.
I'll tell you though, oftentimes it's hard to figure out what those guidelines are.
Yes.
And that becomes a challenge for new producers or small producers like us. I mean, thank goodness that we have AI right now that at least points us in a pretty good direction and gives their sources so that we can go check the sources.
Yeah.
But up until then, it's just been hard, and it still is, quite frankly. I never feel like
There's no black and white answer.
I know that I've covered all my bases. Yeah.
Yeah, I always feel like we're still doing something wrong.
Well, that's just like the labeling. Man, I thought we had the labeling nailed until we.
Yeah, because we did look at
Oh yeah.
what was required,
Yeah.
and we still got it wrong.
And still got it wrong. So, those are mistakes that are going to be made. I mean, they're innocent mistakes, but unfortunately, the state is not going to be. They're not going to be lenient, I guess.
Yeah, they don't care why the mistake was made. They just want it fixed.
Yeah.
So on the broiler side of things, in terms of the state regulations, one of you guys did some research and found out that we're well in the clear on this, it looks like. So
Long shot.
yeah, we have up to 1,000 birds per year, then we qualify as another like small producer. So there's no USDA inspection required.
Right.
So we're going to be under that threshold, so we don't really have to worry about that. There are some things like labeling. Same thing with the labeling. There's a checklist you have to go through, And then when you go past the 1,000, you lose that exemption status and you fall under a new one, which is a custom exemption. So it's another tier for producers. And this threshold goes up to 20,000 birds.
Right. Right.
Insane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That
That's
was-
serious producing there.
Goodness.
Yeah. And then I'm not even going to explain what happens when you go past that, but there's a whole checklist of regulations you got to.
If we ever get to that point, we'll cover it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It won't be in my generation, that's for sure.
Come on, you want to process more than 1,000 birds.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Oh man, I didn't even think about that. What the process would look like.
Oh, yeah. That would be something else.
It's definitely going to move past my garage.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Anything else we should cover for the chicken operation?
So I think we landed, kind of to summarize, where did we land? Because I think we wanted to show the process, making the sausage as you indicated. If I'm correct, I think we landed on, we do not need to order any more birds now. We'll order the 25 in spring of 2027, and then we will do the best we can to be able to get version 2 of the Eggmobile built, hopefully by September timeframe, so that we can get those new producers out there in version 1 of the Eggmobile. Right. Is that a fair summary?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's really all on Kevin right now to get to work.
Yeah.
No, it's all on that bank account.
Well, that's true. That's true too. Which means it's all on us.
Yeah.
So, good deflection there, Kevin. Good
Yeah.
deflection.
Good job.
Yeah, don't try and pile it on my plate.
Yeah.
That comes later. There will be a time and a place where you're like,
Oh,
"Kevin,
yeah.
come on, man."
Yeah.
That's right. Not quite here yet.
Right. So, but I think the other thing that we should nail down is how and when we're going to push out the broiler order form.
Mm.
So,
Well, I think that needs to be done right away.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we have our website, the way it's built is pretty capable, so we can add on a form for people to fill out. We need to figure out what's going to be on that form.
Yeah.
And how we want to manage the data that we get.
Yeah. Do you have the hard copy of Profit?
Poultry
Poultry.
profit something?
Yeah.
Pastured poultry profit.
Pastured poultry profit? That's a terrible name.
Do you have a hard copy of that? Because I know I have the audio version, I think.
I have the audio book.
have
I
the
don't
audio.
have.
So none of us have the hard copy of that one.
Because I don't know if it has a copy. We were talking about it, and we don't know if it has a copy of what his order form looked like.
Oh.
I thought it did.
I know he had a bunch of like marketing emails, like newsletters he sent out, which is also useful.
In the back.
He had that in the very end of the book,
Yeah,
and
right,
it was
Independence.
it was like the last chapter.
Right. So we just need to check.
Yeah,
Check on
we
that.
should probably have a hard copy of that anyway.
Yeah, probably sure.
So,
So, all right, let's move on to the deconing process for the Christmas tree side of the farm. So we did a podcast where we talked about what I'm defining as step 2 of the yearly process for maintaining a Christmas tree farm, which was step 2 was it was planting the seedlings, and so now we've moved on to step 3. So step 1, after 1,
Was
prepare.
preparing.
Yeah, okay. Step
Preparing
1,
land.
sorry. Step 1 was preparing the fields for planting, which was removal and the stump grinding. So removing dead trees and then grinding all the stumps from that the customers cut down from the previous season. Step 2 was the planting of the seedlings. Step 3 is happens throughout the April and May timeframe, roughly. I mean, there's some leeway there, but that involves a deconing process. So, do you want to explain that?
Yeah, I'll be glad to take an initial stab at it. I think I want to tie it to regenerative agriculture because obviously that's what we're talking about. So why bring up Christmas tree farm and deconing? And the reason is when you go back to those principles that we talked about last week and the week before, One of the principles that's in there is, well, actually several principles are designed to focus on maintaining or creating an environment where you keep your water. So water retention is a key. So from an uncompromised point of view, from a regenerative point of view, our aim in the Christmas tree operation is to do the best we can to retain water. All right, so what does that have to do with coning or deconing? Well, what happens in our environment, and this is true, and I'll talk about this in a little bit more detail here in a few minutes. This is true for most Christmas tree farms, is when you have conditions that don't allow you to have good retention of water, then your trees are impacted because their roots are not getting the water that they need, and so your trees suffer. So when your trees suffer, at least for Christmas trees, one of the reactions that they have, and it's not true of every species, but it is true for some species, that they go into a coning, they start producing cone.
Right.
Well, why are they producing cone in an environment where they are, for lack of a better term, stressed? If they have too much heat, so or if it's a dry summer, that kind of thing. If they have too much water, or, and heaven forbid this would ever happen, fire, that kind of thing. The trees will respond to that as a threat to their lives, if you will. Now that does sound kind of weird, but it makes perfect sense in my mind from my faith-based approach at looking at these things. I think the Lord was very creative in causing that kind of reaction. So in the case of Canaan fir, Korean fir, and all of our spruces with the exception of Colorado blue spruce, they will be prolific coners if they're stressed. Okay, so when do they normally cone? And this will help you understand how stressed they can get. Normally for a Canaan fir, it will not start coning until it's 20 to 30 years old. 20 to 30 years old. These trees, they're usually 2 to 4 years old when we put them in the ground, and they're 8 to 10 years old by the time we harvest them. So they're 14, 15, 16 years old, that kind of thing. So less than half the age, in some cases, of a mature tree. So they will start coning. I'm out there deconing right now. I stumbled on one of my trees that was maybe 3 years old.
And it's already got cones.
And it already has cones on it. And it's Canaan fir. That was a Canaan fir. And not all of them will do this. Right now, like in field 4, I'd say maybe 5% of the trees had cones on them, and not bad, and not a lot of coning. In field 1, that's quite different. They're probably upwards of a 10%, maybe 12% of the trees have cones on them. That's a lot. Now, then the question is, well, how many cones are we talking about? You know, some people think in their minds, 3, 4 cones. Oh no. Hundreds and hundreds. For the Korean fir, when we had them, we don't have any more Korean fir, but when we had Korean fir, they would have, I remember several times when we had church kids out here, they would count the number of cones, over 500. So we're not talking about a minor level of effort here. This is a lot. And so in field 1, I did have to have the 4-step ladder out there too, because I couldn't reach the top of them. But they congregate at the top. So that's why. That's the tie to regenerative agriculture. That's why they cone when they do right now. And then why is it necessary that we decone them is the next thing I wanted to focus on. And what happens is they all of their energy, before they even set bud, what that means is you have a tree that it's gone through winter, the buds have not even swelled yet. They swell up, so you can see they start to get bigger and bigger. Then at some point, usually in the April timeframe, they break bud, which means the new growth starts. even before breaking bud, they will set cone. And that's what's happened. We see that I think you guys saw that here a couple weeks ago, where hey, we're already seeing cones. But that's what they do. That's part of the regenerative process is they will set cone if they were stressed at any point in their life. So we've had several, almost every year, we have some kind of drought, or in a couple of years, we had a lot of water. So our trees, for whatever reason, they're stressed. So then the other principle behind that is once they start coning, they will continue to cone. They won't stop. So that's why we're in this thing. So before I even started in Christmas trees, I had no idea that coning or deconing was even a process that we need to be concerned with until it happened. And then if you remember, because you guys were involved in this last year when we had the super tall trees, which had lots of cones on them, it would take us weeks to decone. Most of those trees are gone now. And so I think it'll take about a week for us to do the deconing on it. But yeah, that's what's going on there. So they throw out cone. It's usually at the top third of the tree, usually at the very top. And what happens if you don't decone them, then all of the energy for the tree is going to go into reproduction. So these cones start growing and growing, that kind of thing. But it'll disfigure the top of that tree as well because it's all cone. And so even last year when we were trying to produce some of our wholesale trees, and we're not big into wholesale, but we had a couple of people that needed some trees, about 20, 30 trees each, that kind of thing. Well, several of them had cone up there that we couldn't get to. They were so tall, and it deforms that top of the tree. And then in some cases, and again, I refer to Korean, but I have seen some Canadian that do this, the cones go all the way down to the bottom. That's not fun. It's just not, it takes forever to decone those trees. So what does it take to decone them? Literally, you just snap them off. They're very easy to knock off.
Depending on when you catch them.
Depending on when you catch them. So that's why we're doing it right now.
Right.
Because if we wait till May time frame, then you got, like the Korean fir, there was a really small window for them. But again, we don't have any of those right now, so I'm thankful for that. But for the Canadian fir and for the spruces, it's a pretty simple. You just flick them off,
Right.
kind of thing.
And if you wait too late, they get bigger. They get about, this big, and how would you describe it? They stick to the branch a lot harder, so you can't just flick them off. You actually have to pull them, and
Twist them.
that is kind of dangerous because at that point you're kind of breaking the stem,
Right.
which you don't want to
Right,
do.
yeah.
So and then you're talking about hundreds of them per tree. We have
so
fields and fields of
time-consuming.
these, and so it becomes a
you're on
huge
a
problem.
10-foot ladder.
Yeah, and you're on that you're hauling around to every tree, so it's
And you're way over. It was a mess.
yeah.
There were trees where you would spend half hour to 45
Yes, yeah, easy.
Oh yeah, easy on the tree. And I even would have to clip them. So as the cone gets bigger, of course, it's where it's tied to the limb of the tree, that's getting thicker and thicker, so it just doesn't come off easy. Yeah. So when they're young, tender, if you will, then they're easy to pull off, but otherwise they're not. But yeah, that's what's going on with deconing and why we have to do it.
Yeah.
Man, that breeze just came in and hit me in the back.
Yeah, it's brutal. It's a cold one today.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
So to talk a little bit more about the process, we actually have to we walk around to every single tree. We have to, you kind of inspect it to make sure there are no cones on it. If there are, you have to stop. If it's a tall tree, you have to pull out a ladder. If it's a short tree, or you're a short person, then, that kind of depends. But
I always use a ladder.
you have to walk around every single tree, make sure every cone is off. It's good to wear gloves during this process because you can get a lot of sap on them. That also kind of depends on at what stage you reach it. Some of them aren't very sappy, but usually over the course of doing, hundreds of these, you're going to get sap on your fingers. So it's good to have a pair of gloves that you have some good dexterity with them.
Yeah, so they're pretty thin gloves. I like the urethane gloves. I forget, it's it's not poly, but it's some kind of urethane that's on
Yeah, it's like
the fabric of the glove.
it's like a thin nylon glove that's been dipped in a grippy thing. I don't know what.
Yeah, I was going to say, you use the Milwaukee ones.
Yeah.
I typically use the Milwaukee ones.
Yeah, and I get mine from a vendor that are for Christmas trees. But then, you know, like you're saying, you get just sap all over them. And so what happens is they stick together.
Yep.
And then they start, sticking to the cones, and now they won't come off. So the easy trick there, just take your gloves and just clear away the dirt and just get a bunch of dirt on it and then just wash the dirt off. And that dirt makes it nice again. And so you can get back in there and get
Another part of what we're doing as we're going around and deconing is inspecting all the trees for dead branches. We'll do some weed control underneath them sometimes, get out mulberry, and what's the other one that's pretty bad?
Well, we have a lot of poison ivy that grows up inside them, but you got mulberry, and then you have, well, honeysuckle will grow up underneath there as well. So the birds love sitting on the trees, you know, and then they do their thing, and the seed falls out with the manure, and that's why we have that stuff growing up underneath the trees. But yeah, deconing is not just deconing.
Right.
Like when I was telling Trudy yesterday how much in field 4 I had to spend cutting dead limbs.
Right.
So anytime you see a limb that's dead, you want to cut that off. Probably more for parents than anything else, because you're going to eventually have to do that anyway at the end of the season. So why not attack it now?
It's also better from a customer perspective, because if a customer sees a nice tree but there's a dead branch on it, they might not pick it. But if you just cut that tree off, I mean, it'll fill in a little bit. They're not even, they would never know.
Right. And it also says something about how well you care for your trees.
Yeah.
If you got all that so you know, that's part of it. We want to put our best foot forward as much as we can. Yeah. So there's another principle that I like to think about when doing these kinds of things, is you always spend time in the trees. You know, getting on a 4-wheeler or whatever and riding through your trees is not the same as taking your time, getting out there, walking around the tree, clearing it out, cutting out the dead stuff, getting the cones off. All are necessary because it allows you to really focus on that tree. And otherwise, it's just they fly by and you don't really pay attention to them.
You miss so much.
Oh yeah,
Even walking, you miss stuff.
right. So I'm looking for other things. I'm looking for is, do they have a double leader, or not a double leader, double trunk? Do they have a double trunk? Because we've had that problem.
We've missed that.
How
many 14-footers did we have to cut down this year?
Because they had a double trunk.
Right.
Yeah.
And had for years.
How many times have we looked at that tree? Visited that
And
tree?
that's a nice looking tree.
Yeah. It's sad. It's sad.
So frustrating.
And it is frustrating because I get upset with myself because I missed it for years.
Right. Or you'll have a customer come up and you're like, oh, dang it.
Yeah, and they're really fixed on that tree.
Right.
Yeah, because it's beautiful.
Yep.
And they do.
Hours looking for it, and you're just like,
Real quick, the reason why you can't have a tree with a double trunk, which is literally that's what it says. So there's 2 main trunks that have grown from this one tree, and if you cut it down at the base, you're going to end up splitting that tree into 2. So you can't have it. So yeah, it's just better to get rid of them because they're going to cause problems.
Yeah.
At some point.
When I do double trunk this way, they don't grow that way. They're just
They grow straight up. Yeah.
Yeah, they're deceiving.
And again, you can't tell. You can't tell.
unless you actually physically pull back the branches and get
And
up and look. at it.
Technically, it's a perfectly fine tree.
Right.
You know, you can get in there and put some zip ties and hold them together so that they don't split. You can do all that stuff, but that's not what we're going to sell. We're not going to sell that.
And we've had
We've given them
cus-
away, and
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we've had
I have.
customers who are adamant on it's fine. We'll
that's right.
take it still. And you're like, we'll go out, we'll cut it for you, we'll drag it for you. You know, but they're adamant, and we have
Because it looked good, and it did. You know, so
we
bless their
have
heart.
very good customer base.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
Yeah, I mean, and just to recap, we have the tools needed. It's pretty simple. I mean, you just need a pair of gloves that we already talked about. Some ladders. Usually it's like a step ladder or like an A-frame ladder. Something you can carry around. I think that's important.
Yeah, so usually our aluminum ladders.
fiberglass.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're light enough that you can do that. A wood ladder, no. Or a,
We've had to use it.
I know.
In a pinch, yeah.
Yeah, in a pin.
Yeah.
You also want some good clippers, like some guard clippers
Yep.
for when you run into weeds or the dead branches. And then I think the only other thing I would say is probably like a good pair of headphones and like a podcast or an audiobook to listen to, because you're just out there walking fields, so you need something to help out with that.
Yep. Yep. Yeah. So not a lot of tools are needed.
Yeah. I was say, because you're not really having a conversation as you're up there doing that either, because you're typically, if you're out there with someone, you're not next to them.
Yeah, you're on opposite sides of the field or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Never works out well to actually have a human interaction out there.
And I like not wearing something and just listening.
Just being in the moment.
Yeah, it's very relaxing. And I mean, likewise, I also listen to podcasts and stuff like that. But there are times that I just want to listen and just enjoy the peacefulness of not having something feeding my brain all the time.
Yeah, I'll do that too, especially if it's like, I know last year there was a few times where I was off work, so I was working all day on the computer. So it's nice just to kind of not have to
Just disconnect.
just disconnect. And
Exactly. Exactly.
where are you currently? Because you said you've already started this week. So
Yeah, good. So we got 6 fields. So our front fields, the ones that are facing the roadway, field 4 and field 1, I usually start in 4 and just work my way around, and we just go around. So I've completed field 4. I'm in field 1 right now, and I've got 3/4, 2/3 of that done. I have one more third to go in that, but that's a big field. That's one of our biggest fields. And it's like twice the size of field 4 in terms of canine fir, the cone-bearing trees.
Yeah.
Because it's almost all cone-bearing trees in field 1. So that one's taken me a lot longer. Then we'll move into 2A, which I expect will be a problem for us. There we have 5 sections in what we call 2A. We have 5 sections in there, and that's where our spruce are. The majority of our spruce are in there. Now, in field 1, I went through a heavy spruce section. Not a single tree had any cones so far. So I'm hoping that's going to continue, which then reminds me that not every year, we don't always have the same amount of cones every year. Some years are light on cones, some years are heavier on cones. I thought we would have a heavy year because of our winter,
Right.
but
So
so far it's kind of normal with the exception of the spruce, and the spruce are light.
And the spruce that we have up there are Norway and Serbian.
No more Serbian. So we have Norway, we have Black Hill spruce, and we have a white spruce.
Okay.
Yeah. Now we don't have a lot of them, and we're, as I had mentioned in one of our other podcasts, was we're moving away from them, but I still have some that are out there.
Yeah.
And so every year that number is getting smaller and smaller. Yeah, but we do have, like, we got rid of a lot of our Norway spruce this past year, and in the late winter. We called a lot of them out as well.
Yeah.
So that's partly why, but there's plenty of Black Hill spruce, which is the big coner. And I didn't mention Colorado blue spruce, but they don't typically cone on
We
us.
don't have hardly any left.
Yeah, hardly. We have some, just a small number
in 2A.
in 2A.
Yeah.
And yeah, 2A primarily. Yep.
and white pines do cone, but they're not super prolific.
No.
And we don't have any more of those.
We have 4 of those left. 4 of those left. But yeah, white pine is not a prolific coner, but it would have cone on it. But and I never would really remove them because I didn't spend time, and because at the end of first of all, they don't cluster
Yeah,
at the
they
very top.
yeah.
They'll have 2 or 3.
they kind of look nice sometimes.
Yeah. I remember when we would get a Christmas tree, if it had a cone on it, I loved that. I thought that was the coolest thing, that it had a cone on it, because most of them don't. So
Yeah.
One, 2 cones isn't bad.
yeah, 1, 2,
500.
I don't think so. And believe me, you're going to leave 1 or 2 cones.
Oh, 100.
It's yeah,
When we shake them out in the processing room all the time.
yeah. All right.
The so when you go through and you decone, all you're doing is flicking them on the ground. I mean, you're just, yeah, they end up on the ground and that's it. I remember a couple years ago, I was trying to think of like some different byproducts that maybe we could, I don't know, get some extra, like try, if we collected the cones, maybe we could turn them into something and maybe get another revenue source going, but that never really came out to anything. But I mean, the only thing I could think of were, I mean, I know that some people can make candies out of certain cones.
Yep.
Because they're, like I said, they have a lot of syrup in them. So the syrup is used for different things. You can actually make, there's a whole brewing process that you can do for kombucha and beer.
Yeah, I took.
It wasn't cones, so.
Yeah, it was. I took 2 5-gallon buckets down to full circle of cones for them to experiment with.
Okay, I'm thinking of,
Spruce
I had
tips.
taken spruce tips.
Yep.
To work. There was a guy that had a beer company down there, and I know that he tried that. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
They didn't do anything with that though. As it ended up.
Nothing ever came from it. I don't remember. I can ask him, but I know nothing ever came from it.
Well, I know a vendor that we had last year in our gift shop that's just around the corner, the lavender guy.
Yeah.
This lavender farm, which is just around the corner from us over toward Phillipsburg, they said that if we brought them cone, that they can use it to help make soaps and stuff like that.
Soaps and maybe candles.
Yeah.
Perhaps. Yeah. So, I mean, there's potentially a source there that we would end up, at least for them, giving it to them.
Right.
And then, if they said that if they could generate some soaps or whatever from it, that they would label it as Advent Christmas Tree Farm and then sell it here.
That'd be cool.
Yeah. So
Those are all
potential
like,
there.
yeah, those are interesting. I mean, I just don't know if it's like worth
The juice is worth it.
the juice. I was going to say, if you used that term last time, but
Yeah.
It's a good one.
it's kind of small stakes, but they are kind of fun and interesting.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to collect it, which means you got to carry around a bucket and all that kind of good
you
stuff.
actually have to care about where you're dropping things.
Right. And we're in the, we can do it. We can do it.
Right.
But I'm usually in the mode of let's get them off because there's so much other things that we're trying to get done at the same time. Like right now, we've got chestnuts to get in the ground, chestnut seedlings that are ready to go. And then we need to put up 400 stakes and fencing and all that kind of good stuff. When I say stakes, I'm talking about 7-foot T-posts. So, and put them in the ground, 2 per seedling. And we're going to try to get a couple hundred seedlings done this year and a couple hundred next year and a couple hundred after that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, my point is those are things that still need to be done. So we don't have a whole lot of time
Right.
that we can use on collecting something that's not going to really do any good for us.
Yeah. I do know that you can, so I also work with a guy who has he owns a brewery in Columbus, and I was talking to him a couple years ago. I mentioned that our idea for like turning our cones into a syrup for beer of some kind. And he seemed really interested in it. I just never followed through with it. But also another thing is pulpery. So I have a dehydrator, and I took a handful of them and I put them on the dehydrator to see if I can dry them out and make some pulper. Because another thing we didn't say is a lot of these cones are very aromatic. They have they smell great.
Yeah.
Pungent is bad.
So, if you turn it into pulpery, I think it would make a good.
Well, how did that work for you?
Well, it took a long time to dry it out, and they did dry out. Moisture. But then I put it in a container. It wasn't airtight. It was just a plastic container, and then I left it there for a few months. And I opened the container. It was all moldy, so I don't think I dehydrated it long enough.
Right.
And then I kind of gave up on.
Right.
Moved on.
We can try that again this year.
Yeah.
Because I got a dehydrator too. So
Yeah. If there are anything like other things that need to be dehydrated, like fruit or something along those lines, I think it's down around 19%.
it's pretty
Maybe
low.
wrong, but it's pretty low. Yeah.
Which ones, do you know off the top of your head which ones have the more fragrant cones?
I would certainly go with any of the firs. I would not touch a spruce because they they just don't smell as nice. They don't have that beautiful tannin smell, which is what a Christmas tree should smell like. Traditional Christmas tree has that tannin smell, which is just so wonderful. And then surprisingly, concolor fir, which is the ones that have a lemony tangerine kind of smell, they don't comb, or they haven't been coners for us. So
That's fortunate and unfortunate.
oh, it's definitely fortunate. but I would be interested.
Right.
You know, if they did, I would be interested in knowing what they smelled like, the sap. You know, what that smells like. But thank goodness we don't have to deal with that, because we have a lot of concolor fir and some big ones.
Yeah.
Did we hit everything on the deconing process?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we did.
Oh.
The next step in the Christmas tree farm is going to be over the summer. It's kind of a general step, which is just weed management, and that's kind of an ongoing thing. And I mean, it never really ends.
Right.
During
We're
the,
actually doing that right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, that is the next general step in the process, and we might talk more about that as we get into the summer months.
Right.
But
And then in July we'll do, you know, trimming the trees and shaping them.
Right.
Well, we personally won't do it, but that is a step in the process that we'll be getting to.
yeah, and we'll definitely do a podcast on that.
Oh yeah. That's a really interesting process. Yeah.
Cool. Well, I think that's a wrap, guys. So thank you for watching. If you've made it this far, go ahead and leave a comment down below or like this video. That really helps us out. And we'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks.